Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Hanley. I am Kimberly at Creating Hanley, and I was just looking at my project here. All right, so I think that turned out pretty darn good, if I say so myself. There's a little bit of a mistake right up in here, but you can hardly even see that. You wouldn't even know from back there. All right, so there we go. The sashing is added to our quilt-as-you-go block. Hello everybody, welcome back to Creating Hanley, and my name is Kimberly at Creating Hanley, and you have found the station, the channel for, I don't know, entertainment, fun, just to watch me make mistakes, who knows, quilting maybe, hopefully. So anyway, I'm just being funny right now. This is the channel right now where we are doing some quilting, and I am finishing up our So a Year Full of Stars quilt-along, quilt-as-you-go. So a Year Full of Stars, quilt-along, quilt-as-you-go at Creating Hanley. All right, guys, so I have quilted these two blocks, these two quilts. Now, what is a quilt-along? A quilt-along is when we all do the same quilt together. A quilt-as-you-go is when you make one block quilted, front, batting, and the backing as your sandwich. So you make a quilt block sandwich. Okay? So you have a front, a batting, and a backing, and it's quilted. You can see I already quilted it. And then that is your quilt block sandwich. You quilt it as you go because you create one block at a time, quilted, and then you add another quilted block. And then when you attach all of the blocks together, so when you attach all of the quilted blocks together, then you have a quilt. And it's done. You don't need to take it to a long armor. You don't need to like hand sew everything. Unless you like to hand sew. I personally, don't like to hand sew. I want to do everything on this machine. That's why I spent the money to buy the machine, to make the machine do the work. So anyway, now this is a two block row. Sorry about that, guys. That's my phone. That's not any beeping coming from you. So I've created this. Now, I want to show you how to put the sashing on. So we are at the point in our So a Year Full of Stars. It is at the end of the year where we are putting all of our blocks together to create our So a Year Full of Stars quilt. So our whole star quilt. So our star quilt will now be complete. So find your sashing, whatever sashing that you want. I chose the same sashing fabric as the background sashing, as the background fabric here, and the same as on the back. So two different fabrics from the same collection, so they match. Okay? So this is probably the most perfect thing that I have ever done in my entire career of sewing. And this came out damn near pretty perfect. Alright, so I want you to see this stitch line right here. See how close to the edge it is? All the way across. Same with here. Now this isn't quite perfect, but this is actually my basting. This actually right here, this white thread is my basting thread that I can take out. So I could actually do this. So let's do this on film right now. This is not part of my video, but this is a basting stitch that I don't actually have to keep in. So let's take this out. Now the thread is going to be, it's already sewn in and sandwiched in here. But I'm just going to take this little white part out because we don't need it, and it doesn't need to be in the finished product forever and ever. So there we go. Oh my gosh, guys, look at that. Now, younger me would have kept that in. Like 2 months ago me probably would have kept that in and not carried. But look at that. Look how that cleaned that right up. Now you don't even see that stitching underneath. That is fantastic. I'm really happy about that now, guys. Yay! So, I love it now. Now I really love it. I loved it before, but I'm definitely loving this now. So, this part is done. This row, this is my row. I only have 2 in this row. So I'm gonna show you how, or teach you how to do this and this. Okay. Now with my unfinished one. Now, what you want to take is a sashing that is 1 inch wide. This one happens to be a little bit wider. I cut it a little bit generous because I tend to be a little inaccurate sometimes with my sewing. However, this is 1 inch wide. So, this is my front and this is my back sashing. My front sashing and my back sashing. Now, with the front, take you down to the surface. Pretend I have something over here. Pretend I'm going to attach these two. Okay, I'm not. But pretend I'm going to attach these two. So I'm going to take this sashing. This is the front. So this sashing is for the front of that. And you can see that blends. Now, your sashing can be whatever you want. You can have blending sashing, the same fabric if you wanted to. If you have directional, then you want to keep it directional. If you have like plaid or lines or something, you try to match it. I mean, that's going to be... If you have plaid and you're trying to match plaid, the sashing with the plaid, good luck. That takes some patience. And if you have that kind of fortitude for that sort of thing, I wish you all the best on that. I do not. And you don't have to actually match them, but if you want to, then go for it. All right, back to here. So that's my sashing for the front. And my sashing for the back is going to be matching. Now you can have coordinating colors. You can have contrasting colors. You could have the matching fabric, the same fabric like what I chose. You could do whatever you want. You could have, something completely different. So I'm just going to walk you through this. I'm not actually going to do this because I don't want to put these two pieces together. But you're going to take your top sashing and you're going to add that to the bottom. Now I'm going to take this part away because I'm not going to work on this right now. But you're going to add that to this. And you are going to make sure that you line up this edge exactly perfectly. Now if you have a little bit of overhang on this side and this side, that's fine. If it is exactly cut, then make sure everything is lined up exactly perfectly. And if you need to pop a pin in here just to hold it, a placeholder, do that because you do not want to. There is zero space left over. You need every inch of this inch fabric. You don't have any wiggle room here. It has to be precise. Okay? And then on the back, so this is perfectly lined up on the front. Now on the back, I'm going to add my back sashing. And you're going to take the same thing, flip right sides down, and you're going to line that up. Because we're going to do this, we're going to add 2 sashings with 1 stitch, okay? Make sure everything is exactly perfectly. Line that up exactly perfectly. You can pop in your pin to make sure it doesn't move at all. No shifting, no moving. Take it over to the machine, okay? Now, take this over to the machine. Make sure it is exactly, I'm using a walking foot because this is pretty puffy. I have my quilt sandwich and I have 2 layers of batting in here, so it's pretty puffy. Now, if you're unsure about how your walking foot or your presser foot is going to tackle this edge right here, then put in the same width of leader. So this is just a piece of fabric that I made. It's my leader, And I'm going to put that in here. All right, this is bad because it needs to be like this. Yeah. So no fabric, right? You're not going to get confused about that, right? So here's my leader. Put this in. Down in place. So do your leader first. Here's your leader. It's going on. Now, lift up the presser foot. Make sure everything is lined up right here. Put the presser foot down. Don't start right away. Make sure everything is lined up. The edge of the presser foot or whatever your measurement needs to be. Make sure your needle's in the right place. Make sure on your machine that you have the correct thread in, the correct color for whatever you need. Make sure your stitch length is right. Okay? So if you have a lot of puff here, maybe you want to increase your stitch length to 3 meters or maybe 3.5 millimeters, not meters, millimeters. Okay, so it can eat up a little bit of that puffiness. Okay, so then you start and you keep going, and when you get to the end of that, back tack it. And then if you have any trim, left over, cut off the trim. And then you have two pieces attached. Now I'm not going to do that right now because I don't need that on this side. But now you have two pieces attached. You're going to forget about the back for now. Just leave it stitched in place like that. For the front, you're going to work on the front. Now you want to flip the front over. So now your stitch line is like this, and this little fabric piece is floating in the breeze. So it's stitched down, tacked down like that, and this little piece is floating in the breeze, okay? I'm just going to take this piece off just because we don't need it right now. Now, you're going to take your other block and you're going to flip right sides together and line up the edge of that and it's moving around because I didn't actually sew it down, but you're going to line up the edge of that, and you're also going to line up the edge along here. So make sure your block is lined up and make sure the sashing and the block is lined up. So block is lined up here, block is lined up here, and the block and sashing there. Take it over to the machine, 1/4 inch seam allowance, okay? Now, I sewed that down. Now, when you open it up, the top is now sewed down, so here we are here. The top is now sewed down. Both sides are together. Both blocks are together. Now, we take it over to the back. This is still flapping in the breeze right here. Remember? We just left that. Now, these two edges should meet, okay? These two edges should come together perfectly, just like that, and they should meet. Sometimes they're a little bit tight, and maybe they're like overlapping one another. If you can, try to, just let them meet right in the center like that. You want them as close as possible. If you have a gap in here, if you have a large gap, try to find some fill. Try to find your stuffing or your batting and try to put a little bit of extra batting in there because you do not want that gap. If you have a gap here, there's nothing in here except one piece of fabric. And then when you put this out, it's going to be two pieces of fabric. Now that's going to be very thin. Very, very thin. And you can see how it creates this gully here, this little valley. That's going to be a weak point in your quilt. And you're going to have that, if you have this gap everywhere, you're going to have that weak point everywhere. So don't do that. Try to keep these two edges close together as possible. If they overlap a little bit, fine. Now this flap here, you're going to bring over, and then because this is only an inch wide, now mine's a little bit wider, I gave myself a little bit of extra fabric, but you don't need to do that. Then you want to fold this under, so you can, I hope you can see I'm folding this under so that I overlap just on that stitch line from the front. Okay, so that front created a stitch line back here, and I'm folding this 1/4 inch basically, so we only have a 1/2 inch sashing right here. Okay, I'm folding that over 1/4 inch so that we have a 1/2 inch sashing showing. Okay, now I'm going to iron this down. I'm going to iron this to create a strong crease and so that this doesn't pop up so much. So I'm just going to take it over to my iron. And I hope this is still on. And it's shut off, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm just going to use a little bit of heat that's left in this iron. And try to create a crease in here. Okay, so you can see that sort of created a little bit of a crease here. Like so. Okay, now that's good where it is. I'm not going to put any pins in here. What I am going to do is flip this over. And now I know that free edge is right along this side of the sashing. I want to tack that down first. So I'm going to take this over to the machine. And I am going to put this right here. So my needle, hopefully you guys can see that. My needle is right along the edge. And take your hand wheel and just kind of place that down where that needle should be. That first. Great. So now I know exactly where that is, and I want to follow as close to the edge without falling off this way and without going in too far this way. Close to the edge as possible. That is going to catch the back, the sashing on the back. And if you flip that over, you can see exactly where that meet. Those two should meet exactly. Do you see where those two fold? It's hard to tell. But if you can see, those two are folded. So I know that when I sew along here, I am catching all that free edge that's on the back. Okay? So let's go. Now, start out, do a couple of stitches, maybe do your back tack. Check the speed of your needle. Is it right for you? If it's too fast and you lose your line, then you're going to be frustrated. And I'm sorry if that's scratchy. It's becoming scratchy on the recording because I know the fabric is going over the recording part right now. So I get to the end and I'm going to just do a back tack and then cut my thread. And now the truth. Let's look at it. Guys, we did a really good job right there. Look at that. Can you see that edge all the way across from here to here? So it caught that free edge. Now, I would like it to be a little bit closer, but I am really happy with that. Super happy. And then you can see how close I was to the edge of this. Super close, right? Yeah, guys, I love it. That is what you want. Now, if you're not the kind of person who wants to see those stitches on the top there, then what you do is you whip stitch or you do a hidden stitch with your hand. So you have to hand sew it. So it's a hidden stitch and you hand sew that. Okay, and then you would do that for all your whole quilt. But that's the only place where you top stitch. So you have a top stitch there and a top stitch there. Now to me, that looks unfinished. I want to have a matching stitch on this side. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Does it need it? No. But we just do it for decoration, not for practicality. Because it's good. It's sewn on there pretty tight. So I'm just going to do it for decoration, okay? So I make sure my needle's in the right place. I do a back stitch. And I know for a fact that the front and the back is going to look exactly the same. Because this is the side that was sewn down at the exact same time. This is what we did in the very, very beginning. Alright, do your back stitch and then cut. So, there's the front. Now, I should have expanded the length of my stitch length, because you could see it's really small right there. I didn't need it to be that small. Now let's look at the back. And this is in the exact same place as on the front, all the way across, and it caught that whole line. It caught the whole edge, so we are good. So that, my friends, is exactly what you want when you're sashing your star blocks, okay? So you sash those star blocks together, and then you get your rows, and once you have all your rows, then you put your rows together. Do your rows in the exact same way. Now, the nice thing about Quilt-as-you-go is that you never have to put anything under the arm of your machine. You're always keeping your sewing to the left of your needle. So it's always going to be here on the outside where it's all open. You never have to stuff or shove anything under here, okay? It's all going to be out here. So that should be very, very helpful. That's why we do Quilt-as-you-go. So it's already quilted. It's already sandwiched. You have the backing. You have your batting. You have your quilt design. You just put all your blocks together. Everything stays to the left of the needle, so nothing has to shove under here. And you don't have to take it to a long armor and spend the extra money to get it, top quilted or quilted. Everything is done, and then once you have all of your pretend like this is sewn together. Once you have all of your blocks sewn in place, then you just bind the outside. You have to finish the edges of this, right? So bunch of different ways that you can add binding. And so that is going to be our next video. I'm just going to do a simple binding on here. And then this is going to be my little meditation seat cushion. It's super thin. It's not really like anything, but it's just somewhere I can sit on the floor and, do my little meditation. So, or my cat will sleep on it, something like that. Anyway, and then there's the back. The back is also quilted too. So that is how you do that. There was something else I was going to add to that. I kind of got off tangent. Oh, what was I going to say? Anyway, yeah, so that's how you do that. Do the exact same thing. The sashing is going to be longer. So give yourself a little bit of extra wiggle room and it's still going to be 1 inch wide, but as long as your project is. So if your project is only, say like this is 16 inches. If your project is only 16 inches, just cut maybe 17 inches or 16 and a half. And then just 1 inch wide. And then do that a couple times, however many rows you have, and then put all those rows together. Front sashing and back sashing the exact same way, okay? And then once you have all those together, now it's time for binding. So that is a different video for another time real soon. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, pop those into the comments. I appreciate all the likes, shares, and subscribes. A station update is going to be coming soon. I have some cool new things coming out that I'm really working to grow this channel. And maybe I'll get a haircut. No, it's scheduled on the 17th of December, so we're coming up on a haircut. All right, you guys, have fun doing your sashing, and I'll see you on the binding video. Bye for now.